Play the director, Steve Young.
Hey, what? Hey, yo. I want to thank everybody for coming, and we're going to open up to Q&A now.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Dallas couldn't be here, unfortunately. He had an emergency kidney stone on Wednesday night, so he was admitted to the hospital. So he had to cancel his flights. He really wanted to be here, but everybody wish him well online. So thank you.
All right, so we're gonna do this one question per person. Just raise your hand. I'll come to you and ask that whole question.
Hey.
Or Steve, you.
Hey, yo. How you doing, dude?
Scott, how long have you been sober so far?
You asked me when last time I had a drink was?
No, I'm just saying.
What time is it? I've never been big on counting days. I mean, I got enough white chips to tie on my floor at home. I never really dwell on that. I'm just trying to make it back to the hotel so I can scratch one more day off.
Would you consider weed a drug?
I mean, yeah. I don't think it's as toxic as a lot of other drugs out there. It's legal and illegal in a few states. But then again, alcohol's legal too. Do you consider alcohol a drug?
More than weed.
Yeah. Well,
Next question.
I know in the movie you touched about you had a strained relationship with your son. How are things going with that now? And I know Jake's not here, but do you know how things are going with him and his family still?
From what I hear from Jake, he's restoring his relationship with his family. The problem with me and my son Cody was most of his life I was on the road entertaining other people's kids. And my daughter Cassidy's 4 years younger, so by that time in my career I was in a different spot where I didn't have to go to all the little small towns. Let the young guys go, I just went to the big towns. But now that he's in the wrestling scene and he's living in Japan in the dojo, and now it's kind of cool. Like I learned early on that I can't be his wrestling mentor. If I had to choose, I choose Dad. Because when I critique his matches, he doesn't want to hear anything about it. Because I never was like Razor. I was never that cool guy in the NWO. I'm like Dad, who made him eat his vegetables and clean up his room. So, but I think our relationship's heading in the right direction.
Hey, first of all, Scott, we're all proud of you. We all love you. What was different about this time than the 12, 13 rehabs and all the time and all the money invested? What was different this time, brother?
I don't know. I've spent a lot of my adult life in front of cameras and microphones, but I was always in character promoting some kind of event. We've been doing this little press tour for the movie, and it's the first time I've ever had to talk about me. So I don't really have a lot of shtick built up, but I don't know, maybe it was my time, and I know it certainly was being around a lot of supportive people was all a good thing. Like Dally's like an amateur drinker. He hasn't really turned pro yet. So, I mean, like hanging out with him, Steve's one of those guys who never drank, never did a drug, so it's kind of cool now to hang around those kind of people. I wish I knew what worked, because man, I would tell everybody I know who's suffering. But, I don't know. And I don't consider myself poster boy for recovery or Captain Rehab. I'm just trying to make it through the day.
Awesome.
I've been a big fan of yours for a long time.
Thank you.
One of your signature moves is the Fall Away Slam. I've always enjoyed watching you do that to people. When you left, were you at all aggravated that Bradshaw started doing that? Because I was. Bradshaw started doing Fall Away Slam. It made me angry every time that I saw that.
Well, thank you. Let me go back and tell you how I came up with that. I was wrestling and actually went in the Hall of Fame the same class as I did. This really famous wrestler from Puerto Rico called Carlos Colon. And I was he's a great guy. I was wrestling Carlos down there, and at this time I'm just trying to think of cool moves to do. So I shoot him and I tell him, duck the clothesline crossbody. He comes across, I catch him. Then I just toss him. We get back in the locker room, he's like, amigo, what was that? He goes, you tossed me like a sack of shit. So people who know me, or people in the wrestling world, when I call, I go, duck the clothesline sack of shit. Like, I call it sack of shit. But talking about Bradshaw, it really felt cool to me, because when NWO went back there for like a minute to the WWE, and I had me and Kid had some tags and stuff against Bradshaw, he quit doing it. Like, out of respect for me, he quit doing it. So then in matches with him, like I would pick him up and do it to him. And, you know, and one time I had Kid crossbody off the top, I had Bradshaw catch him, and then sack of shit him onto me. So it was really cool, but no, he was really respectful and quit doing it when I got back there. Now Sheamus, on the other hand, I had to call his big ginger ass up and tell him to quit doing the razor's edge.
Scotty, you look great. Just want to say that.
Thanks, I'm at the Hyatt, room 750.
Not in that way, but thank you. I think I'm going to ask a question that everyone is begging to get asked: is what's your favorite Scott Steiner story?
Well, there was enough F-bombs dropped in the movie for me to go there, but no, I like Scotty. I remember back in the early WCW days, and they would get in the locker room, and you know, they're both big-time amateur badasses. So we'd be sitting around the locker room, and they would just grab somebody and just grind them into the carpet, just destroy them before the show even starts. And so if it was one of your buddies and you go to help him, then like Rick is standing there going, like he's like, wait, I don't want to say anything bad about Scotty because he only lives about 20 minutes from me, so I don't want to get him back there.
How you doing, Scott?
Great, thank you.
You look great, bud. We actually met back in March over at C2E2. I got a picture of you and Pac. I have one question. First off, it's a great film. But I was curious, what did you think, what are your thoughts on your E60 story?
I consider myself low-tech redneck. I've only been online like since I came up to Atlanta and got in touch with Dally and stuff. So now I have like an iPad and an iPhone. But when I had my big meltdown that's in the movie, you know, it was all over line. Everything was blowing up. But I remember I talked to Kev. I said, man, can you put something out online? Like, you know, whatever. And he goes, man, ESPN's been calling me. Why don't you just, he said, they don't want to bother you. He said, they've been calling me. If you want to do something, do it with them. So I participated in it. You know, the only thing I remember calling those guys going, listen, I know where you guys are in Connecticut. I said, if you make me look worse than I made myself look, then we got a problem. I said, I know people who will hurt you for an autograph. But I mean, it was what it was. You know, I'm not really proud of that kind of behavior, but I tell myself, if I don't want that kind of stuff going out there, maybe I shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. You know, I hold myself accountable for that. I don't blame anybody.
I just wanted to know, you worked for WCW and WWF, and who's the more cutthroat boss? Was it Vince, or was it work for Eric Bischoff?
I think cutthroat's not necessarily a bad thing. I think Vince is clearly the top wrestling promoter out there. If you're not, I learned so much working for Vince that when I came to WCW, we just shredded those guys. I mean, the only reason the whole NWO got over was because people thought Vince sent me and Kev there to kill WCW. I mean, a lot of the guys in the locker room of WCW thought we still got paid by Vince. So, of course, we perpetuated that story. You know? But I often wonder, too, as far as like my drinking and drug abuse went, I sometimes think if I'd have stayed and worked for Vince and then never left, I don't think I'd have spiraled so far downhill. Because by the time I got to WCW, I was insulated with lawyers and agents and stuff, and you couldn't talk to me. You had to go through the chain, you know, all my guys. When you work for Vince, I think Vince would have pulled me aside and said, hey, here, you need to take some time off. Go take care of yourself. I think Vince is the guy. Working for Vince, like Eric's like a guy. I mean, I've had FU conversations with Eric and then gone to the ring. Vince is like your boss, you know, it's a whole different vibe.
Will we see Cody in NXT anytime soon?
Right now he's just trying to get his foot in the door in Japan. And then I encourage him to go to Europe and stuff because he's 24, he's single, like go see the world, you know. But yeah, NXT's the place to be, and then obviously, you know, you want to go onto the main roster.
Scott, the movie was great. I
Thank
just
you.
want to say, what's your favorite outsider story?
I don't think the outsiders are done right in their history. I think I just talked to Kev the other night. He was down at the NXT show, and then he called me when it was over. And I don't know. It seems like there's a little unfinished business with what happened at WrestleMania last year.
Scott, Steve, I just want to say thank you all for coming and choosing the Chicago area to showcase your film. It's really appreciated. Scott, excellent podcast with Stone Cold a couple weeks ago, 2-part. I really enjoyed it at work. Question for Steve. What motivated you to make this type of film? You know, I mean, are you a wrestling fan for one, obviously, but what was the main motivation for doing this film?
Well, the main thing is I don't do any film projects without a reason. And, you know, I've worked with Dallas for probably about 12 years, and we work on things that will inspire other people to do bigger things. And so when he told me about Jake and the situation he was in, I thought it was a really good opportunity not only to help Jake, but also if we could figure out how to help Jake, maybe his story would inspire other people to do better things. So ultimately, you know, our focus was how do we help Jake, and then how do we help Scott. We filmed the whole thing. We didn't know what it was going to turn into, and it just ended up being really magical because of where these guys are today. So we're just really fortunate.
Like to me, if it had been a scripted movie, you know, there'd have been some people sitting around a table. They'd have said, "Well, you can't put them both in the Hall of Fame. That'd be too hokey. Just put Scott in."
Hey Scott, the movie briefly touched on it, but your shirt says bad guy. So when it came to your character of Razor Ramon, how did the bad guy, how did that come about?
I was totally ripping off Scarface. You know, Dallas helped me create the look, but you know, I was doing Scarface in the car back with Kurt Hennig in the AWA days, and so I went for my tryout match with Vince. I'll never forget, it was Lexington, Kentucky. I was first match of the night. And normally when you came from another company and had any kind of recognition at all, Vince sent you out there with a job guy and had you lose to the job guy, just to check your attitude. You know, before they put all that TV time in you, they want to know that they can do business with you. But they put me over. Then when I came back, Vince said, "Oh, you know," he called me, he summoned me for a meeting in his office. And he goes, "Oh, you know, like, well, we gotta come up with a name." And I know I'm meeting with Vince, so I'm thinking about it, and I was thinking like maybe Shrug Shadow or something like that, because I was going like Matinee Idol, you know. I remember Road Warrior Hawk was like, "Well, what about Deadbolt?" I was thinking, "Yeah, okay, that's more for you, not for me." So I was thinking about Razor. So I pitched Razor to Vince, and he was like, "Well, there's already Razor Ruddock, you know, that box." I went, "I kick his monkey fucking ass." Vince started laughing. He goes, "We need a last name starts with an R." So I leave his room. I'm in the restroom. I'm washing my hands. Tito Santana's like taking a piss. I went like, "Tito, I need a last name starts with R." He went, "Wrong." I went, "Boom, da da da." Yo, Vince, Razor Ramon. He went, "That's it." So that's how that happened.
Hey guys, great movie. Thank you for coming to Chicago. For Scott, I've read that you convinced Sting to go into the black and white character. How long did it take you to convince him, and what gave you the idea to do that?
I don't know. I've always been like an idea guy, you know. And I didn't even really know Sting. Like when I was in WCW before, he was way up here and I was way down here. And I remember it was like my first TV in. I'm slicking my hair back at the sink, and he's painting his face, And he was growing his hair out at that time, because when you keep it really short and bleach it, it's really hard on your hair. So he was growing his hair out, so like I'm sitting next to him, I don't know him, but I'm going like, growing your hair out, and he's like, yeah. But he's still wearing like all the neon stuff, and I said, you still gonna wear the happy guy tights? He's like, yeah. So I said, do you ever see The Crow? He went, no. I said, no, it's this really cool kind of dark character, and he paints his face like that. And I said, I ain't telling you to rip off Taker, but rip off Taker. So he ran it by Bischoff, and they loved it, and now the rest is history.
Hey Scott, I'm wondering, do you still do DDP yoga, and what is your favorite move?
Yeah, I do it about 3 or 4 times a week, and I'll take this chance to step in for Downey and go, bro. If you're ever in the Atlanta area, the DDP Yoga Performance Center is just open, and it is a sweet-ass facility. You go by there and tell them the bad guy sent you. For me, like, I like to get in the back of the class when they're having classes, and I'm kind of preferable to, if I can get in the back behind a hot girl, I can't wait till they hit down dog. Sorry, ladies.
Hey yo.
Hey, no.
You smell that?
Sweet shit.
Hey, a little detailed question, so I'm a little bit nervous, but on a 98 Nitro, you faced Goldberg in order for him to fight Hogan if he beat you for the title that night.
Yeah, it was in the Georgia Dome.
Right, exactly. That match was a little botched on some spots.
Oh my God, he was so excited. He's throwing me to the ropes. I could hardly run. He was so marked out.
Right, but with Hogan having creative control, why didn't he use that for that night instead of using it for a pay-per-view instead of a Nitro? And do you listen to Howard Stern?
Yes, I listen to Stern. I don't know, Hulk had creative control and could have done what he wanted, but I mean, business-wise, it would have been way better to promote it, and do it at a pay-per-view. But if Eric had the idea to do it, it's just like go with the flow. You know, yeah, it wasn't the smartest time to do it, but it seemed like a good time to do it. Bill was red hot then, so, you know, I don't know. I was fresh out of rehab. I just don't want the big muscle head to hurt me. He was so marked out. Like, to Bill's one of them guys that's like still kind of real to him.
Hey Scott, so a lot of people think your ladder match with Shawn at 10 was one of their all-time favorites, but I want to know for you, what match out of your whole career, what was your favorite moment?
Gosh, there's been so many, and well, as far as ladder matches, we had a bunch of them going into it, and some of them were non-televised. Like sometimes a ladder just does cool stuff on its own, like it'll hit the ropes and just fall in somebody's crotch or something. And so sometimes I've had matches like, and some little nothing happened in town, but it'll just be some moment or like a crowd reaction that's always like really special to me. It's hard to put my finger on one. You know. What I look forward to now is, like, both my kids are chasing their dreams. My son Cody's in New Japan Wrestling. My daughter Cassie's on an academic scholarship in Florida. Like, I feel so happy. And I look forward to the point now when I can go to wrestling shows and somebody will go, see that guy? He used to wrestle back when it was in black and white. You know, that's Cody's dad. Like, I look forward to that. Like goosebumps thinking about it. Like, sometimes when I go to shows with them, you know, like, they want me to walk to the ring and manage them, and everybody's like messing with me, like talking to me, and I'm going, no, watch him. So I look forward to the time when all the focus is on him, and I can just be like the cool heel manager like Bobby Heenan or something. I want to do that.
Old school, territory fan here, and back when they had the magazines and the aftermags and everything like that. But when you were doing the AWA and the WWE or WWF back then, what, as far as calling matches, was there a lot more of a hierarchy in the territories, or who determined who called the match, or was it pretty much mutual? And how close were you to holding the AWA gold, as you probably were one of the big faces?
In the era when I first started, the rule was heels call the match. Like, the heels always call the match. So, like, and that carried on with me. Like, when I wrestled Shawn Michaels every night for nearly 3 years. And I never said a word. They're in the ring. You know, and like one time we had our second ladder match like on a pay-per-view at SummerSlam, and Sean and Kev had been out doing press, and they came into Pittsburgh and they were like so out of it. That was the first time I ever spoke up in the ring to Sean. And afterwards I was like, hey, sorry man. He's like, bro, you're the only one who doesn't think you're my equal. You know, but as far as the AWA stuff, I had been there, and you know, I was making good money. It was the '80s, things were good, but Minneapolis is crazy cold. And I'm lived most of my adult life in Florida, so I remember I had a deal where I could go to Florida and be the top babyface, and I wanted to go down there and kind of learn, because in Minneapolis it was such a black and white kind of vanilla territory. It was boring to me. It was national TV and stuff and good money, but I felt like I wasn't really learning anything that was going to make me better. But I knew the belt was coming my way, and I didn't want to be captain of a sinking ship. So I remember when I gave my notice to Vern Gagne, you know, back in those days there was no contracts, it was all handshakes, so I gave my 2 weeks notice, and no one ever left Vern on top. And he's like, look at me, he goes, I can make you a star. And I said, I don't have to be on your TV to feel good about me, I like me. So we started going back and forth, and he goes, you know, I'm rich. And I said, I know, how's it feel? He goes, it feels great. I said, I want to be rich too, you know, and once I started talking to him like that, like we talked like two men instead of boss to employee. But yeah, I bailed out there, and Hennigan ended up with the belt.
How's it going, bad guy? My wife and I went to see you at Hall, Nash, and Eric down at Romeoville.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was humbled and nervous, buckling on the knees, you know, just to see the bad guy, you know. But we're happy to see you, and of course, Jake, healthy, surviving, you know. My question though, I've always followed the NWO storyline on WCW, and especially the split from Wolfpack and Black or White. I've always been thinking, I mean, what was it, like, you guys working the angle on splitting it and just causing more ratings? Or was it a personal thing between Nash and Hogan and their egos and some kind of, not a conspiracy, but was it kind of like an antagonistic type of personal thing, or was it the promo?
You gotta understand, in the wrestling business, there's a locker room full of egos. I mean, everybody in the locker room is the coolest guy they know. Everybody was the coolest guy in their high school, so you throw them all under one roof and it gets kind of crazy. I think it was just a business decision. When I heard they were going to split us up, I naturally thought, well, me and Kev against Mach and Hogan, how sweet would that be? What a mega pay-per-view. But see, Hulk had control. It's like, no, brother, I want Hall with me. So, because those guys are smart, they don't want to be standing across us with live microphones. You know, Hulk and Mach came up in an era when everything was taped, so if it wasn't that good, you could do it over and over and over. And you know, when everything went to live TV, you only had one shot at it. But everybody comments to me that, wow, the NWO got so watered down when they kept adding people. And it's like, yeah, true, but basically, everything suffers when you have guaranteed money. Because I got paid the same if I sat at home or if I was at the show. And pretty soon it was like, well, Hulk only makes TV and pay-per-views. Why do I got to go to every little town, every TV, every pay-per-view, every appearance? Here, throw an NWO shirt to that guy, let him go. So Bischoff's like, well, okay. And pretty soon it just got out of hand. I hope that answers your question.
Hey, Scott. I saw you wearing a Psychopathic Records jersey in the movie. I was just wondering if you were a juggalo.
Yeah, I'm down with the clowns.
All right, 2 more questions.
Hey guys, Razor Ramon was my main guy in all the 90s video games, so thanks for that.
We have great taste in wrestling.
No, I just wanted to ask, what was your favorite era of your career? Like Razor, causing havoc as the Outsiders, giving Cody a hard time? When did you have the most fun?
I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know, I wouldn't change it. I mean, if I could do my life over, I would go back. You know, some innocent people's feelings got hurt along the way, and if I could do it over, I'd change that. I mean, did I make bad decisions? Like, yeah. Would I do it again? Probably. The only thing I really regret is hurting some innocent people's feelings. As far as like what did I enjoy the most, I don't know, bro. I enjoyed it all. It felt like, I feel like everything, I feel like coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. I mean, if you, like I said before, if this was a scripted movie, a lot of people wouldn't have bought it. And it's just kind of how it happened. I mean, I'm trying to think of clever catchphrases now that I'm doing this kind of stuff instead of wrestling things. And I've come up with this so far. I'm not where I want to be, but I thank God I'm not where I used to be. I'm okay and I'm on my way. Brother.
Last question. Hey, Scott.
Hey.
Hey. Can you give us a story of the most memorable and funniest rib throughout your career?
Wow, good ambition. Now there's so many along the way, and I like ribbers who, like some guys will rib you and like damage your property. Like Fuji's the kind of guy who would give you one leg Bermuda shorts. Like in the middle of winter, you come back from the ring and one pant leg would be cut off, or like your necktie would be cut in half. Remember one time the British Bulldogs took Terry Taylor's like Halliburton brief, wrestling bag. Everybody had those back in the day. They cost $500. He left it open, went to his bathroom. They changed the combination and closed it, so when he came back, he screwed. He had to break open his $500 bag just to put his gear on and go to the ring. I mean, there's been so many. I mean, if you know anything about Pac, there was lots of shit ribs, like shitting in people's bags and stuff. No, it's gross, but you get a bunch of guys, you put them on the road about 60 or 70 days, that's what they do. Owen Hart was really a master ribber. But Owen did the kind of, like, Owens were really kind. Yeah, please give it up for Owen. I mean, Owen would just do, like, little simple things. I remember one time we were at some spot show in Jersey, and there was this fan, like, kind of trying to come into the locker room. And Tony Gurria was the agent. He's going, no, you can't come in here. Owen is right behind him going, come in. Like, the fan had an autograph. Like, the guy had the autograph, like, going like, and Owen's going, yeah, come here, I'll sign it. And Tony Gurria's going, no, I told you, get out of here. And Owen's going, to me, little things like that amuse me. I wish I could give you one major rib. Oh, well, now, if Steve just prompted with it, I mean, there was a time when guys broke in, and this, I'm not glorifying this or endorsing it, but there was a time when the guys would be in the car and they'd go, look over there, and you'd look and there'd be a pill in your drink. And then you'd pass out and you'd wake up with one eyebrow gone. That was a big Kurt Hennig one. And I would go like, Kurt, what are you doing? He goes, no, it's really funny because they wake up in the morning, they got to decide whether to shave the other one off themselves. So there's a Hasbro doll. There's a Hasbro doll of the 1, 2, 3 kid out there that's worth a lot of money on eBay because in the publicity photos, kid has no eyebrows.
All right, guys. Want to thank everyone for coming out. Scott and Steve are going to be signing autographs and taking pictures outside. Scott, Steve?
If we're asking you, if you enjoyed the movie, thank you. You can go to jakethesnakemovie.com for more info, and VOD is going to be available, video on demand, and DVDs, and all the extra footage and all that'll be in there. We're asking you, if you enjoyed the movie, please go on your social media accounts and spread the word on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. And if you didn't enjoy it, then just keep your mouth shut.
All right, guys. You can just stay seated until Scott and Steve get out of the interaction.